Hello everybody, it is California Bird here with a video game review for The Division Survival. So it's been about a year since the original game, The Division, came out, and now they've dropped this second of many DLCs for the game, and I gotta say, they've really hit a home run with this DLC. I think that this game is going to be this is a great addition for seasoned Division players, and this is also a great game for people who love the survival slash battle royale kind of games, like DayZ or Rust or those kind of that niche group of people. I think this game could definitely be for you. I think if you are a seasoned Division player, you should definitely pick up this DLC, and I think if you are any bit interested in survival, this is such a polished game. This is like what I think a lot of people who have been or who are in the survival community have been looking for, and I'm going to tell you why that is right now. So what is the Division Survival about anyway? Well, it's from what a lot of people in the survival community that I have been talking to, a lot of my friends there, it's basically what people want from a survival game, right? There is an end goal to it, and I'll get to that in just a bit, but there's an end goal to a survival game. These survival matches last a finite amount of time. It's about an hour to 2 hours to finish a match successfully, and if you are just really bad, I've had a couple matches where I've survived a couple minutes, but it's extremely fun. You can play PvP or PvE, but even PvE can still have its challenges to it. And you can definitely play with friends, and I definitely suggest playing with friends. This is the kind of game you want to play with your buds, just like any other survival game. You go it alone, it's going to be kind of hard, but it's still manageable. So the premise of the game is that you need to go out and collect antivirals from the city of New York during this massive blizzard. And it takes place on the Division map with the Division stuff. But when you land, you are not your Division character. For those of you who are seasoned Division players, you don't have your gear. You start off level 1. You have no skills. You have a pistol and really bad clothes. And you might think clothes don't matter, right? Clothes do matter now because there is a survival aspect to this game. There's cold, hunger, thirst, and sickness. Those are the things you have to survive against, as well as surviving against NPC enemies, and as well as player enemies if you're playing on a PvP server. And so what you have to do basically is all these people who are in this server, and it's a 24-person server, you start out in a safe house, and you have to make your way to the dark zone through a bunch of enemies to basically the hardest enemies on the map. You need to get an antiviral, you need to call in a chopper to get yourself rescued, you need to survive for a bit, and then you can get extracted. And that's basically how the game plays. But you can't do that as just a level 1 character, right? So what you have to do is you need to create weapons as you progress through this period, as you're going towards this dark zone. You need to craft clothes for yourself so you can stay warm. And you also need to find medicine to stave off the infection that you have, as well as feed yourself and quench your thirst. And so that's basically the premise of the game. And what's really nice about this compared to other survival games is it puts there is that end goal to it, and it puts a time limit on you. You will run out of sickness. If you just keep running around around the map, you are not going to find enough medicine to stave off your sickness. And even if you can, it's just not worth it, right? In other survival games I've found, the end game basically is you have all this stuff and then you just pick on other players, normally new players, and that's just really boring. It's bad for the new players, it's bad for the community, and I don't find much enjoyment in that. But this one, you have to either work together or you can compete with other people, but at the same point there is an end goal, there's an end game, and I very much enjoy seeing that goal there. Let's talk about the map a little bit. So the map, you have scattered all about, you have these different safe houses, and you can go to these safe houses, and that's where you craft things. Scattered between the safe houses are random loot drops. You can get tools, electronics, fabric, various things you need to create everything from a medical kit to your skills to a weapon to something to keep your head warm. There is also parks and other areas where enemies will be, and this can be either viewed as something good or something bad, because enemies will drop pretty good items. But if you cannot stand the cold, if you are hungry, if you are wounded, it can be pretty bad, and it can be pretty hard to even get to the dark zone. And this is why I definitely suggest play with friends, because if you play with friends, PvP or PvE, you know that someone at least hopefully has your back, and they can help you. They can res you, they can give you some of their items if you absolutely need it. But it's definitely really fun to play with your mates, so I definitely suggest it. So, how does this play into the main game? For those of the season division players, well, yes, every time you play survival, you start back off at level 1, and you start off with no skills and with just that pistol. But you can keep some of these loot crates that you find during the mission. You can keep those items, and they go to your main player. You also can get leveled up with your main character by doing this. And so, for those of you who maybe don't want to play the main game as much, you can still get a lot of the benefits in the main game from playing survival. So that's just a thought. So it's not just for naught. And it also gives something to the players who are a bit more seasoned. It gives you something more than just, oh, here, redo this mission again with your friends and just deal with these dumb AI and shoot them and kind of have a looter shooter. It's so much more than that. It gives you something, some goal in some finite time, which is very cool. And at the same time, speaking of just dumb AI looter shooter aspects, in the dark zone, they have new enemies called the Hunters. And I gotta tell you what, these guys will mess you up. They act just like players. It's crazy. They use cover, they're pretty tactical about things, and they use skills. And that's what's crazy. And they will wreck you. I've been wrecked so many times by Hunters. And that is really cool. These new enemies, super good AI, and it's not just some dumb AI who just come at you in endless waves. This makes things pretty interesting. So if you haven't played the Division in a while, I would definitely suggest playing survival again. It adds so much to the game. It adds basically a survivalist's dream. And if you are just interested in a survival game and not even necessarily interested in the loot and shoot 'em third-person RPG FPS game that the Division is, I would definitely suggest looking at survival. Now, if you're interested in just the survival aspect, I would not suggest you buy the Division at full price of like $60 plus the DLC. That might be a little bit steep. If you can get the Division half off and then get the DLC, so you're basically paying, maybe $40 or $30, I think that is definitely worth it. It's definitely a fun game. It's very well polished. It's not in early access or anything. There aren't bugs. There's an end game. It's a great survival game. It's very well thought out and very well fleshed out, and I definitely like it. And for the seasoned Division players, again, it adds a lot more to the game. So definitely check it out. I definitely think that the Division survival is something that is definitely worth it, and you should definitely pick it up. So this has been California Bird. See you around.